The morning sun rose over Harvest Moon Station like it did every day. The light was soft and orange, filtering through the dome that protected the colony from the cold emptiness of space. Inside, people were waking up, getting ready for work, eating breakfast with their families. Una stood in her small kitchen, pouring coffee into a cup. She was 34 years old, with tired eyes and hands that were always slightly dirty from working with plants. As the colony's botanist and administrator, she spent most of her days making sure the crops grew well and the people had enough food. Her husband Taiho walked in, still half asleep. He was the chief engineer, responsible for keeping the station's machines running. He kissed her forehead and reached for his own cup. "Jiwoo is still sleeping," he said. "Should I wake her?" "Let her rest. School doesn't start for another hour." Their daughter was 8 years old. She had her father's smile and her mother's stubbornness. She loved collecting rocks and dreamed of becoming a space explorer someday. This was their life. Simple, quiet, happy. None of them knew it would end in less than 2 hours. The first warning came at exactly 9:47 in the morning. Captain Doyon, the security chief, saw something on his screen that made his blood turn cold. 12 ships had appeared at the edge of their system. They were not human ships. He recognized the design immediately. Valkyrie warships. The Valkyrie Empire was one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. They controlled hundreds of star systems and had been traveling through space for thousands of years, before humans even invented fire. To them, humanity was nothing. A small, weak species that had only recently left their home planet. Do-hyun sent an emergency message to the approaching fleet. "This is Harvest Moon Station. We are a civilian agricultural colony. We have no military weapons. Please identify your purpose." The response came quickly. A Valkyrie face appeared on his screen. The alien had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. His name was Commander Rethus, and he looked bored. "Human colony," Rethus said. "We require your water reserves. All of them. You will transfer them to our ships immediately." Do-hyun's hands were shaking, but he kept his voice steady. "Sir, our water reserves are essential for our survival. We have 847 people here, including children. If we give you all our water, we will die." Rethus smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Then I suggest you die efficiently and save us the trouble of killing you ourselves." The transmission ended. Do-hyun immediately contacted Una. Within minutes, every adult in the colony knew what was happening. They gathered in the main hall, voices rising in fear and confusion. "We should give them the water," someone said. "Maybe they'll leave us alone." "They won't," Do-hyun replied. "I've studied the Valkyrie. They see humans as insects. Even if we give them everything, they might kill us anyway, just for entertainment." Una stood up. Her voice was calm, even though her heart was racing. "We contact Earth. We send out a distress signal. And we prepare to evacuate as many people as we can." "Evacuate where?" Taiho asked. "We only have 3 cargo ships. They can hold maybe 50 people. Then 50 people will survive." The Valkyrie fleet arrived at the station 30 minutes later. Commander Rethus did not bother negotiating again. He simply gave the order to fire. The first explosion hit the eastern dome. Glass and metal flew everywhere. People screamed and ran, but there was nowhere to run. The station was not designed for war. It was designed for growing vegetables and raising children. Una grabbed Jiwoo and pulled her toward the evacuation bay. Taiho ran beside them, shielding them with his body. All around them, the world was falling apart. Fires burned. Walls collapsed. People she had known for years lay dead on the ground. "Keep moving," Taiho shouted. "Don't look back." They reached the cargo ship bay. Captain Do-hyun was there, pushing people inside one of the ships. His face was covered in blood from a cut on his forehead, but he was still working, still fighting to save as many lives as he could. "Get in!" he yelled at Yuna. "We're leaving now." Taiho lifted Jiwoo and handed her to Yuna. "Take her. Get her out of here." Yuna grabbed his arm. "What are you doing?" "Come with us. The ship's engine is damaged. Someone needs to fix it from outside or none of you will make it." "Taiho, no." He kissed her. It was quick and desperate and tasted like smoke. "I love you. I love her. Now go." He ran toward the engine room. Yuna wanted to follow him, but Dohyun pulled her into the ship. The door closed behind her. Through the window, she watched her husband work on the external engines. His hands moved fast, connecting wires, replacing damaged parts. The ship began to hum with power. Then another explosion hit. Yuna screamed. The blast threw Taiho against the wall. He didn't get up. "We have to go," Dohyun shouted. "If we stay, we all die." The ship lifted off. Below them, Harvest Moon Station burned. 847 people had lived there that morning. Only 24 escaped. As they flew away, Dohyun activated the emergency broadcast system. Every camera on the station had recorded the attack. He sent all of it, every second of footage, every death, every scream out into space, toward Earth. "Someone will see this," he said. "Someone will know what happened here." Yuna held Jiwoo in her arms. The little girl was crying, asking for her father, not understanding why he wasn't with them. Yuna didn't have words. She just held her daughter and watched the station burn until it was nothing but a small dot of fire in the endless dark. On his ship, Commander Rethus watched the cargo vessel escape. One of his officers asked if they should pursue. "Why bother?" Rethus laughed. "Let them run. Let them tell their people what happened. What will humans do about it? They are nothing. They have no power, no allies, no strength." His officers laughed with him. They celebrated their easy victory with expensive drinks and congratulated each other on a successful raid. None of them understood what they had just started. None of them knew that humans had a quality that no other species in the galaxy possessed. It was not strength or intelligence or technology. It was something far more dangerous. Humans never forgot, and humans never forgave. The distress signal traveled through space for 3 days. It passed through relay stations and communication satellites, bouncing from system to system until it finally reached Earth. It was 2 o'clock in the morning in Geneva when the message arrived at Earth Command Headquarters. A young intelligence officer named Hajin was working the night shift when his screen suddenly filled with data. At first, he thought it was a system error. Then he started watching the footage. 10 minutes later, he was running down the hallway to wake up Admiral Suni. Admiral Suni was 62 years old. She had white hair, sharp eyes, and a reputation for being completely calm in any situation. She had led human forces through 3 border conflicts and had never lost a single battle. But when she watched the footage from Harvest Moon Station, her hands began to shake. She watched families running from explosions. She watched children screaming for their parents. She watched Commander Rethus laugh as the station burned. "Get me the council," she said quietly. "Now." Within 6 hours, every major human leader was gathered in the United Human Assembly. The chamber was massive, built to hold thousands of representatives from every human colony in the galaxy. Today, every seat was filled. The air was thick with tension. Counselor Minho, head of the Galactic Relations Council, spoke first. He was a calm man who always preferred diplomacy over conflict. But even his voice was tight with anger. "We have contacted the Galactic Council," he said. "We have filed a formal complaint against the Volturi Empire. We have demanded justice. And? Admiral Suni asked. They denied our request. The Velthari Empire is too powerful. They have too many allies. The Council has advised us to accept our losses and avoid further conflict. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted and cursed. Some demanded war. Others called for calm. The noise was deafening. Admiral Suni stood up and raised her hand. Slowly, the room fell silent. Show them, she said to the technical staff. Show them everything. The massive screens around the chamber came to life. For the next 20 minutes, everyone watched the attack on Harvest Moon Station. They watched Taiho die trying to save his family. They watched mothers shield their children with their own bodies. They watched Commander Rethus smile and give the order to fire again and again. When the footage ended, no one spoke. Some representatives were crying. Others sat frozen in shock. Admiral Suni walked to the center of the chamber. Her voice was quiet but clear. 847 of our people died 3 days ago. They were not soldiers. They were farmers, teachers, engineers. They were families trying to build a life on the edge of space. They asked for nothing. They threatened no one. And they were killed because an alien commander wanted their water and thought humans were too weak to matter. She paused, looking around the room. The galaxy thinks we are small. They think we are young. They think we will cry, mourn our dead, and then move on like every other species does. They think we will accept this because we have no other choice. Her voice grew harder. They are wrong. She pressed a button on her console. A list of names appeared on every screen. 47 names. 47 Velthari officers who had participated in the attack. I am requesting the activation of the Hunt Protocol. The room went completely silent. The Hunt Protocol was something that existed only in old military documents. It had never been used in human history. It was considered too extreme, too expensive, too insane. Dr. Wunji, the military strategist, stood up. She was a small woman with glasses and a calm voice. She often explained human military concepts to confused alien observers. Today, she addressed the entire assembly. The Hunt Protocol is simple, she said. When humans are attacked without reason, when our families are murdered, when our enemies laugh at our pain, we do not negotiate. We do not settle. We hunt. She pointed at the list of names. Every single officer responsible for this massacre will be found. Every single one will face justice. It does not matter how long it takes. It does not matter how far they run. It does not matter how much it costs. We will find them, and we will make them answer for what they did. A representative from Mars Colony raised his hand. How long could this take? The Velthari Empire is massive. These officers could hide anywhere. Dr. Yunji smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then we will search everywhere. If it takes 10 years, we search for 10 years. If it takes 50 years, we search for 50 years. If we have to chase them to the edge of the galaxy and beyond, we will. The vote was called. Every single representative voted yes. The Hunt Protocol was activated. Within days, everything changed. Every human colony shifted to wartime production. Factories that made farming equipment started making warships. Scientists who studied plants started developing weapons. Millions of reservists reported for duty. Intelligence networks spread across the galaxy like invisible webs. Human agents appeared in neutral stations, in alien markets, in places no one expected. They watched. They listened. They gathered information. The Galactic Council sent observers to ask what humanity was doing. Dr. Yunji met with them in a small conference room. The alien diplomats seemed confused. We do not understand, one of them said. You lost 847 people. This is tragic, yes, but it is a small number. Other species have lost millions and accepted peace treaties. Why are you mobilizing your entire civilization? Dr. Yunji leaned forward. Because you don't understand humans. Other species count their losses and calculate whether revenge is worth the cost. Humans don't think that way. Those 847 people were not numbers to us. They were someone's mother, someone's father, someone's child. Each one of them mattered. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. The Valkyrie commander who ordered this attack, he laughed. He laughed while our people died. He thought it was funny. He thought we were nothing. She turned back to face the aliens. We are going to teach him that he was wrong. We are going to teach the entire galaxy that attacking human families has consequences. Not because we are strong, not because we are powerful, but because we never stop. We never forget, and we never, ever forgive. The alien diplomats left the meeting with worried expressions. Somewhere in the galaxy, Commander Rethus was enjoying a celebration dinner, completely unaware that the largest manhunt in human history had just begun. He had 47 officers under his command at Harvest Moon Station. One by one, they would all learn what it meant to make enemies of humanity. 7 years passed. In those 7 years, the galaxy learned something new about humans. Something that no species had ever seen before. Something terrifying. Humans did not stop. The first year was quiet. The Valkyrie Empire barely noticed the small human ships moving through neutral space. They had more important things to worry about: trade agreements, border disputes, political games with other empires. The attack on Harvest Moon Station was already forgotten by most Valkyrie officers. It was not forgotten by humanity. Yuna had changed in that first year. The botanist who once spent her days caring for plants was gone. In her place stood Captain Yuna, a military officer with cold eyes and a single purpose. She had joined the hunting fleet the day after reaching Earth. Her daughter Jiwoo, now being raised by Yuna's sister, asked every week when her mother would come home. When it's finished, Yuna always replied. When every name on the list is crossed off. The list was maintained by analyst Sujing, a quiet woman who worked in a small room filled with screens and data. She had memorized every name, every face, every detail about the 47 Valkyrie officers from Harvest Moon. On her wall was a large board with their photographs. When one was captured or killed, she drew a red line through their face. By the end of the first year, 3 names had lines through them. By the end of the second year, 11 more were crossed off. The Valkyrie Empire began to notice. Their outer colonies were being attacked, not destroyed, but stripped of military assets. Human forces would arrive, eliminate any Valkyrie officers on the list, and leave. They never harmed civilians. They never took resources. They only wanted the people responsible for Harvest Moon. Commander Jie led many of these operations. She was known throughout the human fleet for 2 things: her tactical genius and her complete lack of mercy toward her targets. She had developed a specialty in what she called impossible extractions, missions where the target was hidden deep in enemy territory, protected by armies and defenses that should have made capture impossible. Nothing was impossible for Commander Jie. In the 3rd year, she led a team of 50 soldiers into the heart of a Valkyrie military base to capture a single officer. The base had 10,000 soldiers. Jihee's team got in, grabbed the target, and got out with only 2 casualties. The Valkyrie commander of that base was so humiliated that he resigned from the military. Sergeant Woojin served under Jie. He was a large man with a gentle face that hid a deep well of anger. His younger brother had been a teacher at Harvest Moon Station. He had been one of the first to die in the attack. Woojin never talked about his brother. He didn't need to. Everyone who worked with him could see the pain in his eyes every time they crossed another name off the list. The 4th and 5th years were harder. The remaining Valkyrie officers had realized what was happening. They scattered across the galaxy, hiding in allied territories, neutral zones, even lawless regions where no government held power. Some changed their names. Some changed their faces with surgery. Some surrounded themselves with armies of bodyguards. None of it mattered. Human intelligence networks had grown to cover almost every corner of known space. Agents worked in alien restaurants, space stations, trade ships. They listened to conversations, tracked movements, gathered data. Every piece of information, no matter how small, was sent back to analyst Sujin. She found them. Every single time. In the 6th year, a famous exchange occurred that would be remembered throughout the galaxy for centuries. A neutral zone ambassador met with Commander GA to discuss peace. The ambassador, a tall alien with blue skin and a calm voice, made what he thought was a reasonable offer. The Velthari Empire has agreed to pay compensation, he said. They will give you resources worth 10 times what was lost at Harvest Moon. They will issue a formal apology. They will promise never to attack human colonies again. In exchange, you will end this hunt. GA listened politely. Then she laughed. 10 times what was lost. You cannot calculate the value of 847 lives. You cannot buy back the children who watched their parents die. You cannot pay for the nightmares that survivors have every night. The ambassador frowned. Then, what do you want? What will end this? GA leaned forward, her eyes hard as stone. Peace. We'll have peace. After the last name on our list stops breathing. The ambassador tried to argue. He talked about the cost of continuing the hunt, the resources being wasted, the diplomatic problems it was causing. GA let him talk. Then she stood up and walked out of the room. The hunt continued. By the 7th year, only 5 names remained on the list. The most important one was Commander Rethus himself. Rethus had spent 7 years running. At first, he had stayed in Velthari territory, protected by his empire. But as the human fleet grew stronger and bolder, even the Velthari government began to see him as a liability. His presence attracted attacks. His name brought human warships. Eventually, they abandoned him. He fled to allied territories. Human agents found him within 3 months. He fled to neutral zones. Human ships appeared within weeks. He fled to lawless space, hiring pirates and mercenaries to protect him. Captain Yuna found him personally. She led a small team into a pirate base where Rethus was hiding. The pirates, impressed by the price on Rethus's head, had promised to protect him. They laughed when they saw only 12 humans approaching their base of 300 fighters. They stopped laughing when Yuna's team tore through their defenses in less than 20 minutes. Rethus escaped that night, barely. He left behind 2 of his remaining loyal officers, who were captured and sent to stand trial on Earth. Now, in the 7th year, Rethus was alone. His empire had disowned him. His allies had abandoned him. His officers were dead or imprisoned. He had only 12 soldiers left, men who had been with him since Harvest Moon and had nowhere else to go. He hit on a frozen moon called Varithfor, an abandoned mining colony where no one lived. He told himself he was safe there. He told himself the humans would never find such a remote, forgotten place. But he didn't really believe it. Every night, he looked up at the stars and waited. Every shadow made him jump. Every noise made him reach for his weapon. He hadn't slept properly in years. The humans were coming. He knew it. He had always known it. He just didn't know when. Back on Earth, Analyst Sujin looked at her board. 44 names had red lines through them. Only 3 remained, including Commander Rethus. She picked up her communication device and called Captain Yuna. "We found him," she said. "Varithfor, remote moon in the outer systems. He has minimal protection." There was silence on the other end. Then Yuna's voice, calm and cold. Prepare the fleet. We're ending this. 7 years of hunting. 7 years of searching. 7 years of refusing to give up. It was almost over. The frozen moon of Vareth 4 was one of the loneliest places in the galaxy. It was so far from any trade route that supply ships only came once every 3 months. The surface was covered in ice and abandoned mining equipment. The temperature never rose above freezing. Commander Rethus had chosen this place because no one would think to look for him here. For 6 months, his plan had worked. He and his 12 remaining soldiers lived in an old mining facility, eating stored food and waiting for the universe to forget about them. But Rethus could not forget. Every night, he dreamed of Harvest Moon Station. Not the attack itself, he barely remembered that. It had been so quick, so easy. What he dreamed about was the human woman on the cargo ship, the one who had escaped with her child. He dreamed about her eyes, filled with hate and pain, staring at him through the window as the ship flew away. He woke up from these dreams covered in sweat, his heart pounding. His soldiers thought he was losing his mind. Maybe he was. 7 years of running did something to a person. 7 years of knowing that an entire species wanted. You dead changed how you saw the world. The human fleet arrived on a Thursday morning. Rethus was eating breakfast when one of his soldiers burst into the room, his face white with terror. "Sir, ships, human ships, at least 20 of them." Rethus dropped his food and ran to the observation window. There, against the black sky, he saw them. Human warships arranged in a perfect formation around the moon. There was no way to escape, no way to call for help. They were completely surrounded. How? He whispered. How did they find us? No one had an answer. On the lead ship, Captain Yuna stood on the bridge, looking down at the frozen moon. Her face showed no emotion. Beside her stood Commander Ga and Sergeant Woojin, both ready for the mission ahead. "We could destroy the base from orbit," one of the officers suggested. "One blast and it's over. No risk to our people." Yuna shook her head. "No, Captain, with respect, a ground assault is dangerous. They'll be waiting for us." I said no. Yuna's voice was firm. "We're going down there. We're looking him in the eyes. He needs to see us. He needs to know that we came for him specifically. He needs to understand that there is no place in this universe where he can hide from human justice." Lieutenant Byung-ho, a young Marine who had joined the fleet 2 years ago, raised his hand. "Captain, I have to ask. Why does it matter if he sees us? He's going to die either way. What's the difference?" It was Specialist Nari who answered. She was the best sniper in the fleet, a quiet woman who rarely spoke. But when she did speak, people listened. "The difference," Nari said, "is that he spent 7 years believing he might escape. He spent 7 years hoping that maybe, just maybe, we would give up. When he sees us walk through his door, all that hope dies. He'll know, in that final moment, that running was pointless. That we were always going to find him. That's not cruelty, Lieutenant. That's justice." Nari's entire family had been killed in a Velthari retaliation attack during year 4 of the hunt. She had lost her parents, her husband, and her young son. She had more reason than most to want this mission to succeed. Byung-ho nodded slowly. He was beginning to understand. The ground assault began at noon. 50 human soldiers landed on the frozen surface of Vareth 4. They moved quickly and quietly through the ice and snow, approaching the mining facility from multiple directions. Sergeant Woojin led the main assault team. Commander Ga coordinated from a position overlooking the base. Captain Yuna moved with the team that would enter through the main entrance. Rethus's soldiers put up a fight. They fired from windows and doorways, trying to hold back the human advance. But they were tired, underfed, and hopeless. They had been running for 7 years, and they knew it was over. One by one, they surrendered. Woojin's team took them into custody without killing any who gave up peacefully. This was important to the humans. They were here for justice, not massacre. They would not become the monsters they were hunting. Within an hour, 11 of Rethus's 12 soldiers had surrendered. Only Rethus himself remained, barricaded in a storage room deep inside the facility. Yuna approached the door alone. "Commander Rethus," she called out. "This is Captain Yuna of the Human Defense Forces. You are surrounded. Your soldiers have surrendered. There is no escape." Silence from inside the room. "I'm giving you one chance to open this door and come out peacefully. You will be taken to Earth to stand trial for the massacre at Harvest Moon Station. If you cooperate, you will be treated fairly." More silence. Then a voice, shaky and rough from years of fear and stress. "You'll kill me anyway. Why should I surrender?" "Because we're not you," Yuna replied. "We don't murder prisoners. We don't laugh while people die. We believe in justice, not revenge. You'll have a trial. You'll have a chance to speak. That's more than you gave the 847 people you killed." A long pause. Then the sound of something breaking inside the room. Yuna kicked open the door. Rethus was crouched in the corner, holding a broken piece of metal like a weapon. His eyes were wild, his body thin and weak. He looked nothing like the proud commander who had attacked Harvest Moon Station 7 years ago. Fear had destroyed him long before the humans arrived. He swung the metal at Yuna. She caught his arm easily and twisted it behind his back, forcing him to the ground. "Please," he begged. "Please, just kill me. End it." Yuna pulled out a small photograph from her pocket. She held it in front of his face. It showed a man and a little girl, smiling at the camera. Taiho and Jiwoo, 1 week before the attack. "Do you remember them?" Yuna asked quietly. Rethus stared at the photograph. His face showed confusion. "I don't." "I don't know. Of course you don't. They were just 2 of 847 people you killed for water. They meant nothing to you. The man was my husband. The girl was my daughter. She survived, but she grew up without a father because of you." Yuna put the photograph back in her pocket. "I remember you, Commander. I have remembered you every single day for 7 years. I remembered you when I couldn't sleep at night. I remembered you when my daughter cried for her father. I remembered you when I trained, when I fought, when I tracked you across the galaxy." She pulled him to his feet. "You wanted us to forget. You wanted us to be like every other species that accepts its losses and moves on. But humans don't forget. We don't move on. We carry our dead with us forever, and we make sure the people who killed them answer for their crimes." 2 soldiers came in and took Rethus away. He didn't resist. All the fight had left him years ago. Captain Yuna stood alone in the storage room for a moment. She looked at the photograph one more time. "I found him, Taiho," she whispered. "It took 7 years, but I found him." Outside, the sun was rising over the frozen moon. The hunt was over, but the final chapter was yet to be written. Commander Rethus would stand trial before the Galactic Council. The entire galaxy would watch, and they would learn once and for all what happened when you attacked human families. They would learn to be afraid. The Galactic Council chamber was the largest meeting hall ever built. It could hold representatives from all 340 species that belonged to the Council. The ceiling was so high that clouds sometimes formed inside. The walls were covered with flags and symbols from civilizations that had existed for millions of years. Today, every seat was filled. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness something that had never happened before. A human trial, a human judgment, a message from the youngest species in the Council to all the rest. Commander Rethus sat in the center of the chamber, surrounded by guards. He looked small and broken, nothing like the proud military officer he had once been. 12 years had passed since the massacre at Harvest Moon Station. 7 of those years he had spent running. The last 5 he had spent in a human prison, waiting for this day. The trial itself had taken 3 months. Witnesses testified. Evidence was presented. The footage from Harvest Moon Station was shown to the entire chamber. Representatives from dozens of species watched in horror as the attack unfolded on the massive screens. Many of them had never seen human violence before. They had thought of humans as a weak, unimportant species. Now they saw something different. They saw determination. They saw fury. They saw people who had chased a single enemy across the galaxy for over a decade. They were beginning to understand. The verdict was delivered by a panel of judges from 12 different species. Guilty on all counts. Commander Rethus had committed crimes against sentience. He would spend the rest of his life in prison. But the trial was never really about Rethus. Everyone knew that. The trial was about sending a message. When the verdict was announced, Counselor Minho stood up. He was old now, his hair completely white, his body thin with age. But his voice was still strong. This was the moment he had been preparing for since the day Harvest Moon Station burned. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, he began. 12 years ago, we came to you asking for justice. We showed you evidence of a massacre. We begged you to help us hold the Velthari Empire responsible for murdering 847 of our people. He paused, looking around the chamber. You told us no. You told us the Velthari were too powerful. You told us to accept our losses and move on. You told us that was how the galaxy worked. His voice grew harder. We did not accept. We did not move on. Instead, we did something that no species in this chamber has ever done. We hunted down every single person responsible for the attack, no matter how long it took, no matter how far they ran, no matter how much it cost. He pointed at Rethus. This man commanded the attack on Harvest Moon Station. He gave the order to fire on civilians. He laughed while our people died. Today, he sits before you in chains. Every officer who served under him that day is either dead or imprisoned. Every single one. Counselor Minho walked to the center of the chamber. The Velthari Empire, which once thought us too weak to notice, has collapsed into civil war. They exhausted themselves trying to defend against our attacks. Their economy crumbled. Their military broke. They are no longer a threat to anyone. He looked directly at the Velthari representatives, who sat silently in their section of the chamber. We did not do this for conquest. We took no territory. We claimed no resources. We wanted only one thing, justice for our dead. And we achieved it. Now he turned to address the entire council. Let this serve as a warning to every species in this chamber. We humans are not the strongest civilization here. We are not the oldest. We are not the most advanced. Our technology is young. Our numbers are small. His voice rose. But we have something that none of you possess. We have memory. We have patience. We have stubbornness that other species cannot understand. When someone hurts our families, we do not calculate whether revenge is worth the cost. We do not negotiate for compensation. We do not accept apologies and move on. He paused, letting his words sink in. We hunt. We find. We punish. And we never ever stop. The chamber was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Humanity forgives accidents. We are reasonable people. We negotiate. We trade. We make friends and allies across the galaxy. We do not want war. We do not seek conflict. His voice dropped low. But attack our families? Harm our children? Laugh while our people die? He looked at each section of the chamber in turn, meeting the eyes of representatives from hundreds of different species. We will follow you to the edge of the universe and beyond. We will chase you through every star system, across every generation, until justice is done. There is no distance far enough. There is no hiding place dark enough. There is no amount of time long enough to make us forget. He straightened his back. This is not a threat. This is a promise. And humanity always keeps its promises. Councilor Minho walked back to his seat. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, the representatives began to whisper among themselves. In the observation gallery, Admiral Suni watched with quiet satisfaction. She was retired now, her hair white and her body frail. But she had lived long enough to see this moment. She had lived long enough to see humanity announce itself to the galaxy. Beside her sat Jiwoo. She was 20 years old now, a doctor who had graduated at the top of her class. She had her mother's eyes and her father's smile. She had spent her childhood watching her mother hunt, waiting for the day when it would all be over. Today was that day. Captain Yuna stood near the back of the chamber, watching the proceedings. She had retired from military service after Rethus's capture. She had given 12 years of her life to the hunt. Now, she was learning how to live again. It was not easy. Some nights, she still dreamed of Harvest Moon Station. Some nights, she still reached for Taiho in her sleep, expecting to find him beside her. The pain never fully went away, but the mission was complete. Every name on the list had been crossed off. Every person responsible for the massacre had faced justice. She had kept her promise. 1 month after the trial, the Galactic Council passed Resolution 7741, officially known as the Human Warning. It was distributed to every member species, translated into thousands of languages, taught in schools and military academies across the galaxy. The resolution was simple. Under no circumstances should any species launch an unprovoked attack against human civilians. The consequences would be swift, severe, and unending. For the first time in galactic history, a species was officially labeled as too dangerous to provoke. Not because of their weapons, not because of their numbers, but because of their refusal to ever let go. On the rebuilt Harvest Moon Station, a memorial stood in the central plaza. It had the names of all 847 people who died in the original attack. Flowers were placed there every day. Children played nearby, laughing and running, unaware of the history beneath their feet. Captain Yuna visited the memorial one afternoon. Jiwoo walked beside her, holding her mother's hand. The sun was setting over the dome, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Yuna knelt before the memorial and touched her husband's name. "We brought them all home, Taiho," she whispered. "Every single one. It took 12 years, but we brought them all home." Jiwoo squeezed her mother's hand. "Dad would be proud," she said softly. Yuna smiled, tears running down her face. Yes, he would. Above them, the stars shone brightly. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was watching. Somewhere out there, 340 species had learned a new truth about the universe. Humans were small. Humans were young. Humans were weak compared to the ancient empires that ruled the stars. But humans never forgot. And that made them the most dangerous species of all.